Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another special episode of the M&K Productions podcast. I'm your host, Mac. Joined here, as usual, with your host, with the most, Mac, with my co-host, my good friend, Kristen, aka Miss Flamingo. Kristen, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Mac?
I'm doing good, doing good. Finally got a day off just for myself as we head into the March into the fall season. A lot of good cinemas coming out. I, for one, am excited to go get my hands on some of this juicy cinema, and we're actually covering some juicy cinema today because you got to sit down with the director about his new film that's coming out in the UK this Friday.
Yes. Yes. We got an exclusive here. We're jumping all the way to the across the pond to we're going to the UK, folks. Yes, that's right. Bizhan Tong, who has a brand new movie coming out called Tape. It was at select film festivals, and now UK audiences are going to be able to see this in the cinemas. So yes, very exciting. No release date for the US though, but for now, UK audiences UK audiences, excuse me, can go check it out in the cinemas. And this was a really cool film. And actually, Mac, this was a retelling of a very, very well-known filmmaker's film, Richard Linklater, who previously directed Tape back in 2001. So this was kind of a cool opportunity for us to interview this wonderful filmmaker. So, Mac, do you want to give us a quick rundown of the film and who's in the cast and stuff? And I want to hear your thoughts on the film before we jump into the interview.
So we have Selena Lee, Kenny
Yes.
Kwan, and Adam Pak. Premise of Tape is it follows three former high school friends whose seemingly casual reunion takes a dark and unexpected turn. 15 years after graduation, Wing, a drifting former romantic, invites his old friend John, now a rising filmmaker, to reconnect on the eve of John's big film festival debut. But the atmosphere quickly shifts as the secrets from their past surface, particularly concerning Amy, the ex-girlfriend they both share a complicated history with. Now, going into
Yeah.
this film, I did not know. I'd never watched the original Richard Linklater. I am familiar with his work, but I didn't know like when I Googled this film, that one did come up, and I was like, okay,
Hmm.
so I had to put in the this year current title. But I thought the film was very solid. I like a lot of the decisions that were made to kind of make this more modernized. Like it feels like
Yes.
they took a film from the early 2000s with it being, tape, and they just made it like their own version of it. It kind of feels like the opposite of what they did when Spike
Hmm.
Lee did Old Boy in
Yeah.
2013, but it's like handled with care. Like it's you could tell that um Tong is a very big fan of the original film because like
Hmm.
there's a lot of um like going and looking at the some of the other shots from the original film, there's a lot of love and kind of care craft into this with this new
Yeah.
film. And I thought it was very solid. It definitely probably one of the better remakes or requels that we've gotten. I know there was another one that came out this year, but this is probably a good one. There's probably the best one so far this year.
Yeah, and it was really cool because Tom got to speak about working with Linklater and bringing on Selena Lee, who uh, co-wrote the film. So it was very, very cool and to hear that. And then, of course, the original screenwriter of the film, Stephen Belder, if I hope I'm saying the name correctly, worked on the film as well. So there was a lot of care put into this production and wanting to tell the story justice. And like you said, tell it for a modern setting. And in the interview, actually, Tong discusses, seeing tape in the cinema and, working really, really hard to make this vision come to life. And I'm happy he was able to, tell this version of the film because I think it was really, really wonderfully outperformed by the cast. And we're set in this small setting. You don't really go anywhere. It's really intense conversation, so dialogue driven, and like I said, intense. There's a lot of stuff that goes on if in this film, and if you have the chance, I suggest maybe if you have the opportunity, see the original Linklater film and also go check out this retelling of this film. And it's hard too because I also brought up with Tongue and the film has limited access in the US. You can stream it on a streaming service, but you can't really get it anywhere else. So, uh hard time unless you go to find a cinema that's like playing it like at an art house cinema. So this was a really cool film. So I'm happy we got to check it out, and I hope you all get to check it out too. Tape hits theaters, UK theaters on September 19th. Keep your fingers crossed that us in the US, get a release date for it soon because I think you all should go check it out. But Max, should we cut to the interview?
Yes, let's cut to Kristen sitting down and talking with tape director Bizhan Tong.
我想攞個 point 出嚟講。你即係而家結束咗我哋呢20年嘅友情。承認你自己做過嘅嘢啊！你做咗啲咩嚟啊？點解你又咁做啊？我應該轉行做私家偵探。你有冇做過一啲嘢曾經令到你好後悔？俾我認咗佢，我就俾你走。
I want to start off by saying this was a really great retelling and a modern take on a Richard Linklater classic that I feel like nobody really has access to. At this point, I don't know how it is across the world, but in the United States, it's only available to view on a streaming platform. So that means there's no access to it on like a rental platform or going to see it at like an indie
Yeah.
theater that might be showing like a Richard Linklater retrospective. So what does it mean to you to bring this retelling and modern take to audiences?
Thanks. It's honestly an honor in a meaningful way to be able to tell that story, because the original movie had a huge impact on me. So back in 2002, the film was made in 2001, but it came out in the UK in 2002. And I watched that movie in theaters because at the time, thankfully, it was a case where independent film, small even movies with single location dramas could be seen on the big screen. And so I watched that movie and it had a huge impact on me on the stories I wanted to tell. How Linklater was exploring DV filmmaking, but telling this very small, very powerful, intimate movie with these incredible performances from Ethan Hawke, Robert Sean Leonard, and Uma Thurman. And so all these years later, I'm in Hong Kong at that time. So my focus now is about bridging East and West. So I've just made a crime series, Forensic Psychologist. In Hong Kong, I've made a thriller, Lockdown, and I'm trying to figure out what do I want to do next? What story do I want to tell next? And I kept thinking about Tape, because that movie, when it was made long before Me Too. I mean, Me Too was in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the story itself is very much of that time. It was something, I mean, considering that the storyline about a filmmaker who's allegedly, I should say, all these years ago, 15 years ago, has sexually assaulted his friend, and and then we're looking at truth, ambiguity, memory, and so forth. But that story, I felt, is something that is prevalent today. It's important to be told today. And in Asia in particular, there is a cultural taboo. The Me Too movement never took place in Asia. So as much as we talk about Me Too being a global phenomenon, the reality is there was a significant level of backlash in Asia and it never really had an impact.
Right.
And so I wanted to really explore that, lean into that, explore the cultural nuances that exist, and bring that story there. And at the very same time, the world has changed. I mean, the fact that you and I are right now having a Zoom call shows how technologically dependent the world has become. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to update the story too. So it was a wonderful opportunity to be doing that, to be working with local Hong Kong talent, local Hong Kong crew, but at the very same time, bringing in the best, most incredible people to support this journey, both in terms of people I was working with in the UK, like my editor, Mitch Soliday, but also in the US. So it wasn't a case of I just wanted to license the rights and tell this story, remake this film. I wanted the original team involved. And so Stephen Belber, who wrote the original play and film, came on board after I explained why I wanted to tell the story, and he came on board this journey with me to co-write the remake. And at the very same time, we brought in two writer Selena Lee, who plays Amy, and Bonnie Lowe, because we need a female perspective. It's not enough for it to be two guys talking about a story as sensitive as this one. I needed
Right.
a perspective of Hong Kong females to really explore this very taboo subject matter, and have create an open platform for that. And then, of course, with Richard Linklater and John Sloss, who produced the original tape, but also Boyhood and Green Book. I wanted them to give their blessing, of course, to the film, but also give it a level of QC, of quality control, making sure the film that I was making was worthy of their name. And so thankfully it's a film that's gained their support. That was really essential to me that they agreed that they liked the film. And it's been really positive that journey since then.
Yeah, it's amazing that you were able to bring on the original team. So what was it like getting their blessing to saying they're okay, let's move forward? And what was it like from going into development to all the way to the end of getting this wonderful release?
Yeah, so I must say that Steve has been instrumental, really supportive throughout. He understood what I wanted to do, and so in the conversations that he would have also with Linklaters Lost, he was really my biggest champion, my biggest advocate to getting them to agree to come on board. And yeah, it's really meaningful their involvement. It's a case of uh, I would like just to use the word QC of making sure the film I'm making is worthy of being seen on the big screen, is worthy to have their name tacked on. Because it's not a case of I just want to put your name on there. In fact, I needed to get their permission for that, as in they need to approve the movie, that they were happy enough with it to put their names on there as EPs. And so there was a period last year where we were delayed because Linklater was actually, I think, busy promoting Hitman. So
Mhm.
I needed him to watch a film, but I got a message saying, "Can we just delay a bit? Give me a bit more time because really busy with this right now." But thankfully, he saw the film, and yeah, everything has been very positive. And yeah, that was really really instrumental. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Linklater, like I'm sure many filmmakers are. So to be able to not only tell this story that he's done so superbly in the past, but to bring it to a new audience with the blessing of the original team has been meaningful. In terms of rest of development, I mean, the first thing I was doing was looking at all the notes that Steve had written when he made the original. So when he wrote the play, when he wrote the film, I was asking him everything, not only about the ideas he had, this and that, but also the production, learning more about how the original film was made. So even the fact the original he was explaining was shot in 5 days, and I said, okay, yeah, and I thought, wow. But then Dinklage was doing DV filmmaking, like it's more freestyle, free flowing. It's very different, but at the very same time, it's intense to do it in 5 days. I said, I can't do it in 5 days. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just not possible. But we ended up shooting it in seven.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, 6 days for the adult cast, one day for the younger cast, and so we had to have a significant amount of preparation to be able to achieve that. So we did 2 months of rehearsals, which is pretty much I wouldn't say unheard of, but it's very rare to get that level of time, especially on an independent film. But we had that time. The actors were really uh, very gracious in giving me the time to work with them, and ditto with the cinematographer and so on. The next step was script. So in addition to writing it together, Steve and I, as mentioned before, we wanted to ensure that the film resonates and is authentic to the region. And so Selena, Bonnie, and I would have these roundtable discussions, and we'd be exploring what it's like to be a woman in Hong Kong, dealing with sexual harassment, sexual assault, the things that happens to a woman, unfortunately, day to day. We'd be looking at the newspapers, reading about these different stories that are relevant to what we want to explore. We'd be talking about Friends, the stories that we've heard about Friends or friends of friends or other people and what you read online, and really having those open conversations and trying to bring that into the story. And it was really a case of pushing into it, prodding into it, trying to delve into that whole level of moral ambiguity. So we'd have conversations like, what's the difference between sexual assault and bad sex? Or we'd be talking about the fact that we're seeing a lot of performative progressivism. I mean, you have so many people who will put on their bios, I am a feminist. It's like,
Yeah.
but do you really need to just, as that one sentence on your Twitter or X, just say that? I mean, I would expect it to be shown in your actions. I don't need to say
Yeah.
it. I need to show it. And we talk about Weinstein, but that's a caricature in terms of a villain, of someone like, oh God, as we stay away from those people. But the reality is, many of the people who are capable and have perpetrated these heinous acts are people who we would consider to be friends. We would vouch for. We'd say it would never be that person. This
Yeah.
person is a good man. And we are uncomfortable and we don't want to admit that the person that we are defending, that we are considering to be decent, good people, have committed those crimes. Because you can be a decent person in all other facets of your life. You can be very decent, very good. You do so much great things for the world, but you can still commit something like that.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to push and prod on that. And then, of course, we go into the casting process, and that was wonderful as well. But I don't want to keep nattering on.
Yeah, no, that was a fabulous response. I'm glad to see and you acknowledge that this film does have many layers to it, especially these characters
Yeah,
from the original and then to this your own version of
yeah,
it. What was
yeah.
it like bringing on the casting? Because Selena Lee, I thought was so fabulous. Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God, when she enters in the apartment,
yeah.
I was like this. I was like, what's gonna happen? I'm ready for the drama. Give me the drama. What was it like bringing this cast together and filming in this very small, tight apartment where it's feel the emotions are just running high?
Yeah. Oh no, it was absolutely incredible. The casting was fantastic. It was so I first met Selena, and interestingly, an actor who guest starred on my series Forensic Psychologist, Hugh Chan, he recommended that I meet this actress. He said, I think you two will get along well. And so he arranged a lunch. And so I sit with Selena. It's supposed to be a 1 hour lunch. 4 hours we sat
Oh
together
wow.
talking. And we had so much in common. We had so much to talk about in terms of our vision for what we want to see for Hong Kong cinema. Of course, talking about tape. And then even after we finished and we were going our separate ways, we keep texting each other about tape. And so we had there was so much passion involved. And then when I introduced her, I realized that this has to be Amy. She has to play Amy. And when I introduced her to Steve Belber, she had so many questions to ask about the backstory of Amy, about certain lines that existed in the script in the original film. And even Steve was saying, some of the things I hadn't considered. I wasn't looking at that perspective when I wrote it. And then Selena wrote, I believe it was around a 27-page backstory for Amy between the events at the beach, what happened after that, to the day that she comes back in the present day. So she was really advocating passionately about this, and that was also why I decided for the writers I needed to bring Selena on as well because
Yeah.
she knew her character, she cared deeply for doing justice to the story, and then later on when I was deciding I wanted to bring in a local producer as well, again because of Selena's passion, I decided to produce with her, and thankfully she said yes. Then with the casting process. It was great because Selena is a very established actress in Hong Kong. And so she has, of course, her acting friends, so the well-known figures. And so we kind of had a who's who of people auditioning. Many of these actors typically don't audition, but they were willing to do it because I made it clear that as I have all the level of respect that can exist, for anyone who's in this field, in this industry, and the work that's taken to get to a certain status. But I need to look at the chemistry. We only have 3 characters for 90% of the runtime, 2 characters for about 50%. I need to make sure it's exactly what I'm looking for the performance, for the chemistry, and so on. And so these wonderful, incredible actors, some of them are rising, some of them well established, were all coming into audition. And ultimately, with the older cast, I cast Kenny Kwan to play John. He is known in Asia typically for romantic characters. Those old-fashioned period Chinese
Yeah.
dramas with long flowing hair? That's him. So
Oh my
he's known
gosh.
as these romantic leads, good looking, this and that. And so I thought, no, he's actually great as John. Firstly, he takes direction very well. So when he did his audition, he was fantastic there. But also he had the right look, the right approach. He's normally you would not be casting him in this role. And he's a very good looking guy. He's got this and that and that. And so people would say, like, I remember someone saying, "Why are you casting him? Like, he doesn't need to rape anyone." I think that's the whole point. It's
Yeah.
like you can't say rapists have to be ugly
Yeah.
and hideous and so on. It can be a great looking guy, someone who we see as a decent human being can still be capable of that. And so Kenny came on board. John was fantastic. And Adam Pak, who plays Wing, we first spoke on video calls, and then he came into audition, and he was just so he got the mannerisms right. He captured the essence of this character so well. that I thought, no, this guy is just he's so perfect in the role that we had all these great actors. I love all the different takes on the character, but I felt that Adam was mostly attuned to what I was looking for. And then the younger cast, of course, were all great. Mason Fong, who plays Young John, he had just won Best Supporting Actor at the Hong Kong Film Awards, so he's
Oh,
equivalent of the
wow.
Oscars. Yeah, and he had auditioned just before that, and but thankfully, after I offered him the role, he was still very keen to do this. And so Selena, myself, we met with Mason. We sat down together to talk more about the film, the project, and he agreed, of course, to come on. Angus Young, brilliant again, a lot of fun playing Young Wing, really great actor. And then in the case of Summer Chan, she was the most difficult to cast. So
Yeah.
as you know, she comes in at the end, but you need to land the ending, and
Yes.
it doesn't work if you can't do that. So we auditioned. Selena and I sat and auditioned about 32 actresses, and we still weren't sure. It was a
Right.
case you had great takes on it. Some of them might be a physical appearance in terms of we can't believe 15 years time that you would look like Selena. We're just too different.
Yeah.
But some of the others we just weren't sure captured the right a take on Amy. And then a manager reached out to me and asked, "Is it too late for me to send someone to you?" And then Summer auditioned, and she was so perfect, so capturing exactly what I was looking for: the hopes, the dreams, level of happiness, but sadness, of so much promise that exists in that scene. That Selena immediately afterwards said, "No, it's her. She's the
Yeah.
one." Yeah,
Her look has this like innocence to it, and
yeah,
it's so sad when you see the scene that happens because then you see the events that play out later on, like
yeah.
earlier on in the film, you get it. It all clicks in together in the end. So her performance was also a true standout. So, what was the most difficult scene that you felt was the most challenging to film? And without giving too much away.
Sure. I would say definitely the fight scene was, from a technical standpoint, had a lot of challenges there. Uh, Mainly because I mean, we can simply say I need to get from A to B, but I need to get you by the door because of what happens next. But also just getting everything ready for that. That's more of a technical perspective. In terms of as a filmmaker, is actually interestingly the long take. So it's the part
Oh, okay.
where, yeah, so you have towards the end where we have John and Amy having that conversation finally. You have that confrontation. And I purposely wanted to keep it as long takes. You see it from two angles. You see it from behind the bookshelf moving the camera along, and then one behind Wing because I wanted to see the fight behind, as in literally we are in Wing's shoes watching it from his perspective. So the reason it was challenging was A, this is a moment we've all been waiting for. And performance-wise, we need to be exact. We also need to make sure that the camera's in the right places to capture the little movements and so on. That will help the audience to decide without me influencing them. And by that I mean, as a filmmaker, we are puppeteers.
Right.
We can choose to manipulate the audience's emotions through the use of music, through the use of cutting, of course, through the use of where we place the angle of a camera, so that we can side even subconsciously with a character over another. And I didn't want that. I felt in this moment, I'm going to leave it to the audience. So you're going to watch these long takes. I'm not cutting away. I'm not manipulating anything. It's your job or your decision to decide who's in the right, to interpret the scene, and then we'll move forward from that. And so that was challenging in the sense that you need to get the performances absolutely right. You cannot cheat and quickly do an insert shot at some point if we don't get exactly what you're looking for. We cannot do any cutaways. So there was a lot of practice to prepare for that, both from the actors, of course, but also from the simple camera moves that exist. Working with our cinematographer, Colin Kwok, and yeah, and getting this right. So it was that was definitely 100% the most challenging part.
Hmm. So what do you, excuse me, I'm
That's okay.
wording this properly. What was the biggest thing that you learned, as this is my final question,
Mhm.
and what is your favorite Linklater film of all time besides Tape?
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, it's a bit of a downbeat for answer to give, but there was something very personal that was happening at the time I was shooting. So on the first day of principal photography, I received news that my mother well had 1 month to live.
Oh my
So it
gosh, I'm
was
so
yeah.
sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. So it was generally like I mean, she was diagnosed terminal cancer the year before we knew it would happen, but we did not expect it to get that call to say 1 month. So obviously I want to, I'm saying I'll go back home and we'll pause the shoot. My mom was saying, if you come back home, I will not let you in the house, and so on. So yeah, so she was really, really, yeah, pushing. I mean, I love her to bits, spotter. But yeah, so I was there, and normally on a film set, normally when you're making a film, the film set is chaotic. And the only respite you have is outside of filming. That's the only breathing room you have in any film, any shoot I've ever been involved with. This is the opposite. This is a case where outside your life is falling apart, but
Yeah.
inside all I have is this movie. So I'm focused, dedicated 100% to focusing on this film, on making this film. It's the only opportunity I have to not be thinking about that, or to put it at the back of my head at least. And so the challenge there was about finding something about yourself in that you're driven, you're pushing, you're trying to make this film as great as it can be. The promise that you made to Linklater, to Lost Belva, to of course the US side, to the actors here in Hong Kong, to the crew of the move that we're going to make, and I wanted to deliver on that. And the cast and crew was so supportive throughout the whole process. So that was very meaningful. It will always be the most personal shoot of my entire life. And literally, we wrapped shooting. I flew back to the UK, and 1 week later, my mother sadly passed away. So it will always be the most meaningful moment of any shoot. Hopefully, any shoot I'll ever have again. So yeah, so that's the downbeat answer to that, but at least it's something that's authentic and positive in the experience I had with such a fantastic and supportive cast and crew. In terms of favorite Linklater film, I mean, there's so many. He's very diverse in the stories he tells. Now, the film I probably rewatch the most is School of Rock. It's just
Yeah,
fun.
I mean it's such a classic. Do you know how many like millennials that are my age that
Yeah.
just love to see that film like on repeat?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just a great film. It's like Mr. Schneebly, like all the E's and so on. And even the fact that Mike White, who wrote it, and of course plays the friend, the guy who he pretends to be, is now the creator of a White Lotus.
Yeah.
It's that people are all discovering him. It's like, no, if you watch School of Rock, you would have seen the great talent there back then. So I love School of Rock. But of course, the Before Sunrise trilogy is and yeah, Before Sunrise in particular is a film which I that's most meaningful to me for Linklater's films. It had a huge impact on my life in my journey as a filmmaker. Even the first film I did, The Escort, there were influences of Tape and Before Sunrise in making that
Yeah.
story.
It's an amazing trilogy, but I'm so happy that I got to check out your film and it's beautiful because at the end of the film I saw you dedicate it to I guess your mom, which I
Yeah,
wanted to ask about. So I
yeah.
see that you did. So overall, thank you so much for your time. It was
Thank
such a
you for yours.
lovely interview. You were so passionate about your answers, so I'm so happy we got to
Likewise.
connect and speak on this film.
Likewise. No, thank you so much.
Another great interview, Kristen. You definitely know how to ask the right questions. One day we'll get on the interview again together. I just know
I
that
want you
our
to
ske
because
our
this was
schedules
a
just our schedules just misalign a lot of the time.
yeah, I mean, it happens, but Tong was such a great guy. You could tell just by the interview and the answers he gave. He was so passionate about speaking about tape and the wonderful journey he had making this film. And I hope you get to, speak with him one day in the future, man, because he was really, really cool. So thank you all for listening. And I hope, like we said, go check out Tape in theaters in the UK theaters on September 19th. But that's all we have on our end, Mac. Should we announce what we got we got coming up?
Yeah, what do we got coming up, Kristen?
Well, we have a special filmmaker coming on in a few days, so you better be on the lookout for that. We'll reveal the filmmaker very soon. Maybe we could put it up on our Patreon, Mac.
Yes, and we're going to be talking about a certain film that came out this year with a certain pop singer, but that's all I'll get into it. But anywho,
Yes.
as we head into the October time, we're going to be getting into some big name films. We might talk about Chris Stuckman's new film, Shelby Oaks, and we're definitely going to be talking about Tron Ares. We might even do a little episode going back into Tron Legacy, my favorite film, one of my favorite films of all time, but that's hearsay. But we got a lot of good stuff coming up for the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. And of course, Halloween season is upon us, so you might get some spooky surprises as well. But make sure you donate to our Patreon. It is $1 a month to help us support our journey into becoming legends of the podcasting game. Make sure you give us a follow on Instagram as well too, and follow us on any other social media we got. I know we got a TikTok every now and then, but mostly just the Instagram and our YouTube channel. But until next time, I've been Mac. This has been Kristen, and you've been listening to the MK Productions podcast. Peace.
Bye.